Okay, let's talk about CBEST math. And if you're watching this video, I assume you are preparing to take the CBEST exam, meaning that you're going to become an educator in the state of California. That's excellent. So what we're going to do in this video is take a look at a practice problem that you should be able to handle pretty nicely if you're fully prepared for the math section on the CBEST. So you may or may not know that the math that's on the CBEST is basically like a high school level mathematics. You're going to have to know a considerable amount of algebra, geometry. It's far more than just basic math. Okay, so if you didn't know that, then I'm telling you that's the case. So you definitely want to make sure you study accordingly. But if you did know that, like, yeah, I'm trying to prepare, then we're going to go over something that you definitely want to make sure you understand in terms of mathematics. But before we get going, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of Tablet Class Math. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher, and over the last several years, I've constructed many online full, complete math courses to actually include a CBEST math prep course. So what I do there with all my courses, test prep courses, is I actually do research, what's being asked, on the test in terms of math, and I try to match up, the requirements or the objectives for that particular test and come up with a kind of a custom curriculum, because I don't want to be teaching you, advanced trigonometry and, pre-calculus concepts. It's not necessary. So I don't want to overteach you, but I don't want to underteach you as well. So that's how I develop all my courses. But if you're interested in checking that out, I'm going to leave a link to my CBEST math test prep course in the description of this video. You can check that out if you like. So with that being said, let's get into this problem. So I'm going to, of course, solve this, but I want to give you an opportunity to solve it here in a second. So we have negative 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 9, okay? Less than or equal to 9. So if you think you know how to solve that, I'd like you to solve this and then graph the solution. Okay, so it's a kind of a two-part problem. Solve and graph the solution on a number line. Okay, so if you know what you're doing, go ahead and pause the video and knock out this problem. If you are lost, I'm going to give a little bit of a hint now that I'm going to solve the problem. Okay, so here comes the hint. All right, so we're talking about inequalities, okay? So inequalities, that is the topic. So it's this stuff, less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than or equal to. All right, now, first of all, don't confuse these symbols, right? This symbol here is specifically less than. This one is greater than. The less than always looks like an L. If you kind of look at it, it looks like an L on its side. That's how we know that this symbol here refers to less than. So a lot of students confuse. They'll call the greater than less than and vice versa. So this one is going to be less than equal to. Okay, then this is greater than equal to, greater than. So that's the first thing. Don't confuse the symbols when we're talking about inequalities. Now there's a big difference here. Let's say I had 2x is equal to 8. So that is an equation, okay, a basic equation. And I solve that by dividing both sides of the equation by 2. I get x is equal to 4. So 2x means 2 times some number is 8. So if I say, hey, 2 times what number is 8? You would say, oh, that's 4, okay? That's one specific solution. So this equation had one specific solution. But now let's take a look at this inequality here, right? Let's say I had x is less than 8. X is less than 8. So what does this mean? Well, it means some number, okay, is less than 8. What's a number that's less than 8, okay? So any value that makes this statement true is a solution, okay? So do you know of a number that's less than 8? You're like, yeah, about 7. I like that, right? So 7 is less than 8. That's a true statement, okay? So 7 is a solution to this inequality. Well, is there any other numbers that are less than 8? Yeah, how about 6? 6 is less than 8. How about 1.5 is less than 8? On and on and on. So you can see that how many numbers will make this true? How many numbers are less than 8? Well, an infinite amount of numbers are less than 8. So this is a big distinction between inequalities and equations, that equations have very specific finite numbers or number of solutions to them, okay, like this one. And inequalities will have infinite number of solutions. That's why we like to use a graph to represent the solutions to inequalities. So kind of quick review on the difference between equations and inequalities, and hopefully that was enough to kind of like, oh yeah, now I can remember this stuff. So let's get in. Let me go ahead and solve this inequality, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some inequality concepts. Okay, so first thing is this. When we're dealing with inequalities, you got to know how to solve equations. So let's put number one is first of all, you got to understand the different symbols, okay, of working with inequalities and the difference between equations versus inequalities. So that's the first thing. I kind of went over that. So you just got to have a basic understanding of what inequalities are, okay? The second thing is you need to know how to solve equations. You got to know how to solve equations. So if you're struggling with solving equations, then you're going to have a difficult time with inequalities. So let's go ahead and think of this as the equation negative 2x plus 3 is equal to 9. Okay, let's think of it as if this was an equation. Now it's not an equation, but excuse me, if it was an equation, what would be the steps we would take? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this now. So the first thing is we're going to subtract 3 from both sides of the inequality. Okay, again, in our mind's eye, we're thinking of this symbol just temporarily as an equal sign. So that would be negative 2x. We kind of add down, right? Let me write that a little bit better. We add down in a column format. Just a quick review of solving equations. Positive 3 plus negative 3 is going to be 0. That's going to go away. So I'm going to tuck in my little negative 2x over here. Is less than or equal to, this is going to be a positive 6. Okay? So what's the next step? So I have negative 2x is less than or equal to a positive 6. Well, if I was going to solve this equation, negative 2x is equal to 6, I would divide both sides of the equation by negative 2, right? So that's my last step here. Let's go and do that now. Let's divide both sides of the inequality by negative 2. And so we get x is less than or equal to negative 3. So, quick question for you. Is this the right answer? Do we solve the inequality? Okay, and this is now we're going to take this solution to this inequality and graph it. Okay, so we need to know how to graph the solutions to an inequality. I'm just asking you, do we do this right so far? You might be like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Well, the answer is not quite, not quite. Okay, so this is not, in fact, the solution. Okay, so let's kind of like adjust this here. Now, we know that negative 2 divided by negative 2 is going to be a positive 1x, and 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. I have no problem with that. Here is the problem. Here is the problem. Okay, and this is where you got to pay attention, okay, when it comes to inequalities. Anytime you're dividing by a negative number or multiplying both sides of the inequality or dividing both sides of the inequality by a negative number, okay, you're going to switch or reverse the inequality sign. So here we have less than or equal to, so we're going to have to flip it around. So this becomes greater than or equal to, okay? That only happens when you're dividing both sides on the inequality by a negative value or multiplying both sides of the inequality by a negative value, okay? So this is, in fact, the correct solution. So actually, let's put this down. We have to know how to solve equations, and let's say we definitely got to know how to reverse when the signs get reversed, right? So we're dividing by a negative or multiplying both sides of the equation by a negative. That's the situation, right? So I'm just using a little shorthand here just as a reminder that this is a big step, okay? So this is, in fact, the solution to this inequality. So let's give it meaning by our fourth thing that we need to do, and that's how do you graph solutions to inequalities. So what we want to do is draw a little number line, like so. And here would be 0. And let's go to this value, negative 3. So let's say this is negative 3. So what you want to do is draw a circle at this number, okay? Now, let's look at this statement. This says x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So what numbers are greater than negative 3? Well, how about like 5? Yeah, 5 is greater than -3 for sure, right? 5 is greater than -3. So this is a solution over here. So all your solutions, all these numbers in this direction are greater than -3. Okay, so all these numbers work, right? So like 2 is greater than -3. 1,000 is greater than -3. So all these are your solutions. These are all the infinite solutions that make this inequality true. So graphically, we'd like to do this. Now, here's a deal. What I just showed you here represents the solution x is greater than -3, okay? Now, that would be an open circle at -3. If it's greater than or equal to, okay, in other words, the solution includes -3, we have to fill that circle in like so, okay? So these are the things you need to know how to do or interpret, okay? You need to be able to take a graph like this and be, oh, that means that's the solution, and solve these inequalities. So inequalities, pretty fundamental, topic in algebra, high school level algebra. You got to know them, okay? So if you like we're saying, whoa, I totally didn't remember any of this, don't panic, okay? Just use this as feedback to get yourself together with a good study plan, right? If you're able to just ace this problem like 100%, that's excellent. But again, remember there's other topics that are going to be on the CBEST as well, other math topics. So let's go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, I'm going to leave a link to my CBEST math test prep course, my full complete. It's a lot of instruction, a lot of material. So I'm going to leave a link to that course in the description of this video. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, you just discovered me, hopefully you consider subscribing and hit that bell alert. I already have hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for a good 12 years at this point. So I love teaching and I love sharing what I know. And if you like my teaching style and you feel like you understand from me, then you can find a ton of stuff that on my channel that can help you out. But of course, if you want kind of an organized package full course, then you want to check out my CBEST math test prep course. But I have a lot of other tutorials and I'm posting stuff all the time. So hopefully you become a subscriber. If you like the video, please consider smashing that like button and leave me some feedback. What's your path? Are you going from high school to college to teaching, or maybe you are switching careers? So any feedback is good feedback. Maybe you're taking CBEST on the second or third time. For those of you that don't know or new to teaching, which obviously you are because you're taking this exam, teachers do fail certification exams, okay? It's not just a CBEST, any particular exam. So don't underestimate these exams. Study hard and, respect the idea that this is a professional exam. So nothing's going to be given to you. Don't just blow it off and be like, yeah, I'll just go in there and I know enough math. Even if you were good in math, that's years ago. There's a lot that you have to brush up and review on. So don't underestimate that. You don't want to be in a position to be like, oh, I missed passing by 1 point. I hear that so many times from teachers. And they're like, oh, now I got to face this again. Do it right, pass the first time. Everyone's capable of doing that. You just got to get in the right mindset, get focused. And if math is not your strong point, you got to get into a good program and start studying ASAP. Because the more time you have, that's going to increase your odds of passing. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best on the CBEST. Thank you for your time and have a great day.